I make my final stand. Hey, that's why they call me.
What's up, guys? This is Brandon Steelcogs, and this is something I've never uploaded before, Battlefield Bad Company 2. Now, I have a reason for uploading this gameplay, and also for uploading, or I guess not really uploading, but having that song, or both those songs, in it. Now, I'm guessing most of you won't know what song that was, or what songs they were. Essentially, the first part of it is Bad Company by Bad Company, which is quite an old song. It came out in the 70s, and then the second part of the song is the Five Finger Death Punch version of it. And I thought it would be really cool to mix together both of them and have it kind of sync up at the same point where they, well, yeah, where they normally would, and then kind of make a little clip out of it, I guess. I don't know. Every time I think of Bad Company 2, I think of that song, so yeah, I thought it fits. There's also another reason that is pretty opinionated, actually. A lot of people think that the song kind of reflects on, like, World War II and kind of just grungy warlike times, I suppose. Now, the writer of the song, I believe, I can't think of his name, said that it had to do with something else, but because it's a popular opinion, I thought it would be relatively fitting for this video. So the actual topic of the video is what I'm hoping the next Battlefield is going to be, or what it may be. So let's go ahead and get started. Recently, Jack Frags ran a poll on his channel, or he linked a poll from a video on his channel, asking people what they wanted to see for the next Battlefield game was. And 53% of people wanted to see World War II, and me included. Now, given that there's 4 other options, 53% is, like, clearly the vast majority, especially since the next option, or the next most popular option, was Modern Warfare 2, or Modern Warfare 2, a Modern Warfare era game. Now, we don't know yet whether it's going to be Bad Company or it's going to be in the Battlefield, just straight Battlefield series. Like, we had Bad Company 2, then Battlefield 3, and then Battlefield 4, and then Hardline. If you want to include Hardline, I mean, Hardline, let's be honest, that was pretty much a flop. But, yeah, Hardline, and then now we're on to the next one, which people are speculating they might think it's Bad Company 3 or Battlefield 5, or, you know, whatever name they so choose to be, or they so choose it to be. Now, the least popular option on the poll was a World War I shooter, and I have reason to believe for that, or the reason it is that way, and I think, honestly, that's just because there isn't really a whole lot of content as far as that goes. I mean, and there's really not, if you think about it. Yeah, there's trench warfare, and there's very limited guns, and there were very, very, very few tanks or anything like that in World War I. At least not in the beginning. It was more towards the end, and they weren't anything like they were later on. So there's not a whole lot of content to be had there because, again, most of it's trench warfare. So I think that's why that's the least popular option, and I gotta agree there. The second least popular option was Near Future. So when Battlefield 4 released the Final Stand DLC, it had things like railguns and autonomous gunner vehicles. I guess not necessarily autonomous because you can control it, but still, basically a drone you fly around and you could shoot people with. They had the railgun, etc., and it was just an overall futuristic aspect. And I think that this really isn't popular because of other games. Basically, every game in a shooter series is leaning towards this right now. Honestly, I feel like Call of Duty is pretty much the reason for this. And if you look back at it, Call of Duty games don't last more than a year. They barely last a year as it is. And that's because of the lack of replay value. I was going to say replayability, but replay value is the more proper term. Anyway, if you look at it this way, Battlefield 3 came out October 25th, 2011, and then Battlefield 4 came out October 29th, 2013. That's 2 years. It's currently January 23rd, 2016. So it's been 2 years and a few months since Battlefield 4 has come out, and they're still updating it regularly, still adding new content, it's still adding free content, keep in mind, and it's still a very popular game. I think they kind of released Hardline as a midway point to hold people over until they released the next big Battlefield game, but it didn't really work out, obviously, and more people play Battlefield 4 still than Battlefield Hardline, even though Battlefield 4 isn't necessarily my cup of tea. I like Battlefield 3 a lot better, but yeah, that's besides the point. Back to the main point, though. The third most or least popular option was Sci-Fi 2143. So there was Battlefield 2142. I never played it. Wasn't really my thing. Again, I don't really like the sci-fi games, and I think they're hopefully starting to die off. And this is the third most popular option because there never was any sort of sequel to it. And, you know, I think people just sort of, well, some people obviously sort of want that. But, again, that's not really my cup of tea. And I don't think it's a very likely option because, well, actually, it could be likely or it could be unlikely. If DICE decides or has decided to maintain their future going, I guess, games, basically like every other game studio is doing. Call of Duty went from Modern Warfare to Future Warfare. If DICE does the same thing, like they did with the Final Stand DLC in Battlefield 4, then there's a good chance they're doing 2143. But if you consider that DICE just came out with Star Wars Battlefront a few months ago, that's a really futuristic game. So they may not do the same thing twice in a row. So, I mean, you have a little bit of variety and options of what to play. Or, I guess, throughout DICE games. In second place is the Modern Warfare category, and I think this could be a great category as well with World War II, even though I do prefer World War II more. However, Modern Warfare was a really big breakthrough for shooter games, especially when Call of Duty 4 came out. That was a very popular game, and yeah, you could say, oh, you guys are COD kiddies nowadays, but you can't say Call of Duty 4 was a bad game. It was just revolutionary for shooters. It had the creative class, it had the kill streaks, even though Battlefield doesn't have those per se, but it created a whole new era for games, I think. Mainly stuff based in the Gulf War or early 2000s, I guess. I don't want to say Iraq War, but in the time when we were in that, you know, that kind of era and that kind of weaponry and that kind of technology, I think is a really good time because it's not too futuristic. You're not flying around. But, you know, if some people don't like World War II stuff, you may not be in... well, actually, no, yeah, you will be in tanks. But, you know, you have a little bit more options as far as weapons go. And finally, the most popular option, World War II, my personal favorite, and my hopes and dreams for the next Battlefield game, which, honestly, I will probably be playing the shit out of this game if it is a World War II shooter. Anyway, I think that World War II is an amazing option because it is, well, it's World War II. You had a lot of new things. You had tanks, you had airplanes, you have a lot new weapons, you have a little bit of customization as far as those weapons go. If any of you played Call of Duty World at War, you know that. You could actually customize quite a bit, being as it was World War II. It was pretty impressive. Honestly, Call of Duty World at War is my favorite Call of Duty game, and probably my favorite World War II game in general, just because, not because of it being historically accurate, because it really wasn't that accurate, but because it was just so dynamic. It was, I don't know, it was so much fun. It showed, like, a grunge to war that I don't think any other game has done, or any other Call of Duty game has done. And Battlefield, okay, yeah, some of them did, maybe a little bit, like 1942, 1943, but even then, it didn't show the kind of grunginess that Call of Duty World at War did. So this part's going to be off topic, but recently a World War II mod was released by the developers of Insurgency, and I think it's awesome that they did that because it's a free expansion. Well, it's a mini expansion, essentially, but I think people might be able to actually mod that and expand on it themselves, so that'd be great, honestly. And what I think that's going to move into is, hopefully at least, a new era, I guess, per se. I think people and developers are really starting to realize that World War II is going to make a comeback. Back in the early 2000s, we had a really, or I guess and mid-2000s, oversaturated game market with World War II games. But I think that we are now kind of getting to the point where we want World War II games again. And since we see a developer like Valve making a mod for their game that's World War II, I think that's really saying something, that developers are starting to see that we want this kind of stuff again. At the end of the day, though, you know, in the late I guess, well, probably early 2020s, I guess, we may start seeing stuff again where people want to see games that we have now again. And it's the same thing, like, a new Call of Duty comes out, you like it for a little bit, and then you're like, wow, it's a shit, the last one was so much better. And it happens. It's just the way it is. And I don't know why it's like that, but it definitely is. So I think this could be something that we're seeing now with World War II. People are wanting to see World War II again, even though it was oversaturated in the years past. And I think I should also touch on this point really quick. I can't believe I haven't said it yet. But anything like World War II era or anything that's very similar to that, like Vietnam was relatively similar. It's more modern. It's in between modern and World War II. But I still think it was it definitely was a really grungy war that I think they could make a great game on. Or they may be making a great game on, who knows. Since they did do Bad Company 2 Vietnam, which I may have thrown some clips in. I don't know. I haven't actually put all the gameplay in yet. But I think they did a pretty good job with that, and I'm thinking they could do it again. I mean, back in the day, that's what a DLC was. You paid $15, you got a whole new game pretty much. You had new weapons, you had new maps, and, it was pretty great. So anything Vietnam or Korean War or World War II, I'd be really, really happy to see, because I think they're going to do a really good job on it, and I think that it's a very, very popular opinion. Think about Call of Duty Black Ops 1. That was in the Vietnam War era, and that was extremely successful as well. So, you tell me, did the games do bad? Well, I think Call of Duty World at War actually, for its time, might have not been the popular game. However, I think more people want to see that now, and, I mean, polls don't lie, And the possibilities in that time area are really fucking, well, not endless, but you could think of a lot of things. Like, you could just imagine they could do a fantasy, like, if the Cold War actually had escalated and America started fighting Russia. I mean, that's something I don't think, well, I'm sure somebody's done it, but it would be, I think it'd be pretty sweet. So, there's a lot of options out there. Not to mention, a lot of people are really passionate about the way Battlefield Bad Company 2's building destruction was. So, I mean, that's a thought too. Blowing shit up is cool in Battlefield. So, yeah. Anyways, that's going to be just about it. I know this video was really poorly structured. I don't really structure videos too often unless I have a lot of thoughts on my head. And this was really just centered around Battlefield, so I really didn't. But that, and I don't script videos. I don't think I ever have, at least, where I say, or where I write down exactly what I want to say. It's just not my thing unless I really need to for some reason. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I would be happy to hear some of your opinions, and I really hope a lot of you guys that are subscribed for DayZ clicked on this video, because if the next Battlefield comes out and it's amazing, whether it is to World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, Modern Warfare, sci-fi, whatever, if it ends up being really good and I really like it, chances are you're going to see a lot of it if you, watch my videos. So, yeah, peace.